So recently I got into starting making spinner baits, and I started out by getting a small kit like this from Amazon. Here's some of the baits I made. I'll explain those in a little bit. I already had a bunch of tools, so I have wire cutters, needle nose, round nose, just a knife, and channel locks. Those are pretty useful. And then in here, this is a couple more spinners I made. A couple different blades. I believe these are size 5. They called it Indiana, but they look more like Colorado, honestly. It's more like a Colorado shape. Not really sure what you call these, but it kind of looks like a boomerang. So very curious to see how those go through the water. I haven't really tested any of these yet. Here I have steel wire, stainless steel straight wire. This is 0.035. This is a little thinner. And then I have 0.041. This stuff is very solid, very stiff wire. I have a small piece of 0.035 here, so I'll make a inline with that in a little bit. And then here I have, I'm trying to remember the size 4 willow, maybe. I think that's a size 4. Size 2 gold willow. Dual lock. And then I have swivels, more dual locking clasps, and then these are like really heavy duty VMC clasps. They're not dual locking, so you gotta make sure you actually twist the wire inside of those. So that's what I got started out with. And here's some of the spinner baits I made so far. This was one of my first ones, if not my first one. I took 2 swivels, attached them here and here. I made a loop and a loop, so they both spin freely instead of the traditional kind that you see, that spin around the wire on the clevis. So I wanted to make 2 that spun around freely. Again, like I said, this stuff is pretty stiff, so I'm hoping they'll go through like that, and then you can attach a jig head here to this, and that was really my goal, is to make a bunch of jig spinners. So you can attach like a 4-inch swim bait, maybe even anything on a jig head, really. Get creative, and that's what this is all about. Here I kind of have an A-rig. It swims through the water like this. You can put a heavier jig head down here to make sure this stays down, lighter jig head with a longer fish to create more drag, so this stays up, this stays down, and it doesn't want to do this deal through the water. But yeah, so this is basically made up of 2 inlines. So I really like this design. I hope you can really see that. But this is pointed down enough. Okay, so yeah, these are like 2 inlines. I made a jig buzz bait. You can throw a frog on that, any kind of topwater, or a Z-Man, just maybe on a hook or something, because Z-Mans float by themselves. Here I did a double inline spinner with a different color beads, kind of mimic perch, or just the sunfish going through the water there. And then these 2 add flash, and then you can really throw. I'm just waiting for my 6-inch swimmers and my 8-inch mag swims to come in the mail, so I can throw those on the back end of that and use it as a really good pike lure. That's what I'm really looking forward to. So here I got a single blade spinner, and then I have a inline small blade for like your, what I would throw on here is maybe an 1/8 ounce swim bait, or 1/8 ounce jig head with a probably like a 3-inch slim swim is what I would throw on there. Or if you have really fast moving water, you can go up to a 1/4 with a 3-inch minnow Z. That's what I like to use. And then here, where's that first spinner I made? So this is the first double bladed spinner I made. And something that I noticed that could happen while casting is this would get wrapped around like that while going through the water, and this would just like kind of flutter, not spin. So to fix that, let me get this unhooked here because it's tangled, obviously. Okay, so one thing I did to fix that, this is a very similar setup. Again, swivel hook, swivel, clasp with the clasps for interchangeable blades. But since it got caught up like this before, now that it's on the clevis, it just comes right back around. It doesn't get caught. So that's very nice. One thing that I wish I did differently, wish I made this slightly longer, but it shouldn't be the end of the world, because it's something you don't want to happen. Let me grab a jig head here, or a swim bait hook. One thing you don't want to happen, if I can get this on there, sometimes it's a pain to get these on here, so I want to go through like that. Yeah, so one thing you don't want to happen is this. You don't want it to get caught up in there, which you'll be surprised. If you go fishing enough with spinnerbaits, this happens all the time. So yeah, that's one thing I just wish I did a little differently, was make this section a little longer, but I didn't. That's okay. I'm hoping it's not that big of a deal. So I'm just gonna go through real quick on one I made. Here's the last one I made though. Size 5 Indiana, size 4 Willow. This is good because this should create less turbulence in the water for this, so this will still get good action and good spinning. And once again, clasp on the end, so that's super cool. Okay, so you start out with a straight wire. What I like to do is start out making my line tie. I like to leave about that much, come up and around, come down, and then that's about 90. Come down, make it a tip. Good. 90. Grab one of your needle nose. Just start twisting. And then you can worry about straightening it out later if you want. One. Go back. See how that angle's shorter? So I want to re-establish my angle. Okay. Okay. Let's go one more. One more little wrap. Okay, now there's no way any fish is breaking that. There's no way any fish is gonna break that off. We got about 2.5 wraps on there. So you want to take your wire cutters, really get it on the tip there. Now you want to take your hand and shield it, cut it, because you don't want that piece coming back and flying in your eye. Really, you should be using safety headgear. Oh, that didn't even cut it. That just flew off. That's alright. Get another good grip on that. It almost cut through. Like I said, you really want to cover it up. There it is. I felt that snap off. There we go. You got a good solid cut there. Right there. So now, got your nice line tie. If you want to straighten it out a little bit, you can. What I do is I grab right there. Try to get it a little straighter. Let's see. Okay, now what you can do is really look good at the end. See how that's still spinning? So I see which way I have to straighten it out. Tweak it that way a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty straight. Good. So there's your line tie. Now what you could have done was tie a swivel in there. I didn't. Probably could have, so it doesn't twist your line like crazy. And then you come, if you want to throw, I like to throw a bead up here so the clevis doesn't get caught in that. So I grab one of my beads. Again, this kit was from Amazon. But next time I get everything, I'll probably order the beads separately, clevises separately, because I would probably also order the clevises where you can interchange the blades after it's already installed. But let me actually grab a clevis here. Since you start the clevis on there is what I like to do. Take your blade, and since this end, I'll show you in a second. Since this is gonna be my line tie right here, you want to make sure when it's facing down that the concave side, so the the side that looks like you scoop with a spoon is facing the wire. And then what you want to do is put maybe 3 or 4 beads, 2 or 3 beads, depending on what kind of jig head you think you'll be using or how big that blade is, a spinner blade. Because I like to think if it's like that, I want it to be able to clear the jig head. So I'll probably throw 3 beads on there, whatever color you want, it doesn't matter. It does, but this is where you get. And then also, if you want to throw some bullet weights on there, that might be a good idea. That's something I haven't done yet, but I definitely am going to give a try for faster moving water to keep it down and not just have to rely on a heavy jig head. So like I said, you could throw a bullet weight up here maybe, or even an interchangeable jig head weight, or really any kind of weight with a hole in it. That's going to be one thing I do to keep this nose really down. Because one thing I know with inlines is they really like to rise when you if they don't have enough weight on them. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to go ahead and make my line tie, or my my three, maybe, no, that'll be fine. I was just thinking that maybe I do want another bead on that, because I don't want it hitting the jig head hook, or the jig head I mean, but that might be alright. So again, fold it down. Ooh, that's way too much space. Shoot, hopefully I can get that to work. I'm going to try to straighten this out as best as I can. Comes with practice, that's all it is. Just, there's my needle nose. So again, you try to straighten this out a little bit more. That should work. That should be fine. Crank it down. Good enough. Yeah, so I'll make it, I like to have maybe about that much, or maybe a little more. Yeah, that. Yeah, so that's the kink I had. That's where I want it now. Fold it down. So getting into this, it is a little more expensive than actually going out and buying them, but I like to have options. When they're not hitting one thing, you obviously like to be able to switch it up. And in all honesty, it's just the middle of winter. I was bored. I wanted to stay into fishing, and I wanted to get into doing this for a while now. I thought of several different spinner ideas that I'm going to try in the future, so I can't wait to get onto that. But yeah, this is pretty much all it is. And now all you have to do is spin this around. So I'll grab this, twist it up, there we go. That should be plenty. So look, that those are decently tight enough. Grab it. Get your line cuts. Shield yourself. Okay. And this is the piece that flew off. It might be a little too small to do something with, but I'll throw it in my box. And then there is there's a little bit on there that maybe could get filed off or something. What you could do is just go back to your pliers and then just try to get that last bit, maybe twist it onto the wire. Yeah, that's not so bad. And there's your spinner. Simple as that. And you can get creative. So now I'll just come grab a double-sided clasp. Yeah, I'll get a bigger one so it's a little stronger. Okay. Now, these are dual clasps, which I really like. So you can just go like this, grab your pliers, unhook the second part of that clasp, This part's always a little trickier for me. So what I do is this, feed it through, and then it's just easier to get on that way. And then these beads will allow it to spin pretty nicely, and then there you go. Nice little spinner. Inline, and then throw a jig head on that.